It's a brand new day in World of Warcraft and another huge hit to the classic WoW community. In a recent interview, Eno Hazikostas has confirmed that the Chinese servers known as Titanforge realms will never ever appear in the West. If you have no idea what these realms are, let me TLDR you real quick. About a year ago at this point, Blizzard managed to secure a contract with NetEase, which is a company inside China, to release classic WoW to the Chinese audience. The Chinese audience somehow smartly knew that they don't want to have the old boring classic WoW that we received in 2019, also known as Era, and they wanted to somehow combine the three expansions together. So this server is vanilla World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King combined together, but with the caveat. So all the items, for example, from vanilla WoW, let's take Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, is gonna be upgradable to level 80, which means you can with no problem use it in Wrath of the Lich King content in Titanforge realms and do all the content with absolutely zero problems. Some people in the Western audience in Classic WoW have claimed that these weapons kind of serve as artifact weapons from Legion only in Classic. The leveling in these realms have been accelerated by quite a bit, so you can reach the endgame very fast and you never feel like you're behind. If you ever played the Classic version of TBC over here in the West, recently with TBC Anniversary, you will know that if you're not level 70 yet, it's going to be very hard to catch up with people who are gonna raid in Phase 3 tomorrow. In Titanforge, this has been solved by having this toggleable XP buff if you would so desire to play on endgame immediately and play with your friends from the get-go and completely eliminate the leveling experience. Another very big endgame mechanic on these realms is the so-called Titan Rune style dungeons, which I can describe as Mythic minus. If you've ever played Mythic Plus on retail, imagine that just a little bit tuned towards classic experience. These are 5-man dungeons which have affixes similar to Mythic Plus, such as Vampiric, Tyrannical and Fortified, and you can play that content in all of the older classical dungeons. So if you would want to do, let's say, plus 10 Culling of Stratholme, you could possibly do that on the Titanforge realm if you had the gear to finish it, offering that realm a much more deeper and more meaningful and thought-through endgame compared to the regular classic Red, TBC and Vanilla we would get on the Western realms. The class design and talents on these Titanforge realms are using Wrath of the Lich King style talents and designs. Many people agree in the classic community that Wrath had the best classic class design. So you can play here vanilla content as a level 80, let's say DK, and you will have a scaled up Blackwing lair to play at level 80. Which I think is extremely freaking cool. So because of this, many people on my stream since I started streaming WoW 7 months ago have been asking me here and there occasionally whether we are ever gonna see these Titanforge realms in the West. And I always said that possibly, considering that these are pretty popular, most of the content creators are still playing these realms and went to the trouble of acquiring a Chinese social ID security neighbor to actually play the servers, because this is how this stuff works in China. I assumed eventually it will come. And today, retail developers have completely shut down that option for the Western audience. Here's what they said.
I think the Titan Reforged realms that we set up with our partners NetEase in China really were responding to demand and the way that Chinese players were playing the game in a way that differed from what we were seeing in the rest of the world, frankly. There was a lot of focus at the time on they were in Wrath Classic, while most of the rest of the world had moved on by that point.
He continues by saying it is simply a matter of mixing and matching the content of the raids from the first 3 expansions in a way that is scalable. I think it's proven to be a very successful experiment in that regard. And we only brought it to China because at the time we felt that, based on everything we have seen and hated from players in the West, it didn't fit the way they played Classic and wasn't going to be an experience that would satisfy that need. He's kind of shifting blame here to the community and the so-called classic enders not wanted to have a new experimental version of Wrath of the Lich King Classic. But I believe that still, as a company, they could have at least maybe run a couple of polls or released a video or having a stream asking the players how they feel about this, rather than them deciding on an opinion of a minority whether we should have brand new Wrath of the Lich King scalable servers or not, if you ask me.
And when we look at Classic, we always want to be mindful of the importance of community. We recognize that every time we add an extra experience, be it Season of Discovery, be it hardcore, whatever else, we potentially splinter and fragment that community in ways that could be to the detriment of all of them. And so we don't want to, launch a server, have an experiment, unless we're confident that it's really gonna get enough traction to be worth that fragmentation.
Actually, here I fully agree what Eon is saying. There is really a lot of classic WoW versions. We have Season of Discovery, TBC Anniversary, Classic era, Hardcore, not counting millions of private servers that already exist for vanilla WoW that have already created Classic Plus on many of them, like Turtle WoW and Ascension. There is really a lot on offering here, but I still believe that they would at least have a successful phase 1 and phase 2 before players got bored and moved on to some other versions of WoW. Here's the thing though, Eon is talking about player fragmentation, yet he is including layers in TBC Anniversary. Many people have given feedback during the PTR versions of pre-patch for TBC Anniversary that they don't want to have layering, and yet still those community demands, as he called them here, were ignored. People have been also asking to not have the nerf content in TBC Anniversary, and those were also ignored. So Eon saying that they want to keep the importance of the community in mind is also kind of false, when most of the time they're just ignoring whatever the hell we are saying. He continues by saying that we were open to the idea of bringing it to the West, and frankly, when we announced and launched it, we were paying attention to the reactions and how many people in Classic community were saying, I want to play that, bring it here, and it was more of a murmur than a clamor. So Blizzard expected us to applaud them for releasing a version of Classic WoW exclusive to China and hoped that we would beg for it to come to the West. And obviously, people don't want to pamper Blizzard or patronize them because of, you know, their whole reputation they gathered over the last couple of years. This viewpoint from the developers is pretty concerning for me, and I'm kind of concerned for Classic Plus now. So if Classic Plus comes out and we're not applauding them for Classic Plus, we're not asking for more things to be added to it, you know, we're not throwing a banquet meal down at the Blizzard headquarters and not, you know, raising statues at Mount Rushmore in their name, is there a chance that they just give up on Classic Plus and say, okay, you know, we launched Classic Plus, it's out right now, but people kind of didn't make a buzz about it, so we're done with it? I really feel like this is a pretty unhealthy mentality to have as a game developer, especially when you're running a live service. A live service means that you're going to provide content no matter what, and that's the contract that you kind of have with us. So regardless of what we say about the game, you should still be delivering content for it no matter what, if you ask me. He finishes off the interview by saying this.
Okay, so if people want Titanforge, then they're going to have to email you or something.
I mean, at this point, I would say the window for that has probably passed or closed.
This interview 2.5 weeks before BlizzCon is pretty concerning if you ask me. I've learned a couple of things from this interview. The first thing, and something I wasn't aware of, is that Ion Hazikostas, which is a lead game designer for Retail World of Warcraft, is actually also working on Classic WoW, since, you know, in his own words, Titanforge Realms are a classic Red Lich King, and he's talking about him and his team bringing this to the West, making this scalable rewards, upgradable legendaries, Mythic Plus for that content. I did not know that Eon had his claws in Classic WoW. Now, Eon had some good ideas. I mean, he pioneered Legion. Legion, in my opinion, was a very good Red Lich expansion. I know that he was at the helm of creating Mythic Plus. In fact, I would like to have Mythic Plus of some sort in Classic Plus, but I didn't know that he had such power over Classic Plus. So if he decided right now that he doesn't want to have Classic Plus, we would never get it. Did you guys know that Eon had such power over Classic WoW? Because I was under the impression that Agrand and other people controlled Classic WoW development and not Eon and his retail team. I'm definitely a little bit more concerned about Classic Plus after I have watched this interview. So yeah, that basically wraps up the video, guys. Titanforge Realms are not coming in the West ever. I'm sorry if this was bad news for you. I was hoping to maybe try these realms myself if they would ever come to the West. I didn't want to jump through the mental gymnastics of acquiring a Chinese ID, becoming a Chinese spy so I can play this freaking version of WoW. So I hope that, you know, they would provide my quality of life and just introduce these to the West. But we are not getting it. How do you feel about this news? Do you think Blizzard is correct not bringing one more version of Classic WoW into the Western audience, or you think they're just plain stupid? Let me know down in the comment section. Also, if you're starving for some WoW content, I stream World of Warcraft every single day over on this YouTube channel and on my Twitch channel. I will leave the links to all my socials down in this video's description. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video to help out a small creator in the brutal YouTube algorithm. I wish you a great evening and I'll see you in the next video. This is Ace signing out. Peace out.